So hello, my name's Rob, this is Cat Rabbit Scale Model Studios, and today we're going to be looking at the new Contemptor Dreadnought kit for Horus Heresy Warhammer40k. This is a fantastic kit, however it is a bit of a double-edged sword because there's lots of posable components and things like that. So in this video I'm just going to take you through how to pose it, build it, some painting tips, and just how I went about assembling mine. The first step is obviously to cut out all the pieces we need. For this, I just followed the instructions, absolutely nothing fancy here. I was quite conscious to only cut out the bits I needed to. This is just to avoid any lost pieces or anything like that. It is worth noting as well that it baffled me for a while. There's two, I guess, toes sections in this kit. One is slightly bent, and that's if you want to make the foot look like it's slightly walking or it's at an angle. They're not the same, they are different. So once I had all my bits clipped out and I'd made them as I guess much as I could, I did cut out some weapons. I wasn't quite sure how I was going to pose this or what loadout I wanted yet, but things like the front face plate, in actual fact it tells you to glue on, but you can actually assemble it and stick it on later. What I'm going to do here is just going to prime everything. And really the biggest part of doing stuff like this is working out what order to do things, especially when you work in things like sub-assemblies. Because this has a lot of unique little parts, I really wanted to kind of give it a really good paint job. But before that, what I did was go through my primed colours, so like Avalanche, Sunset, and I just gave everything a quick coat of paint just to bring it back down to the kind of the paint level of where everything needed to be, just so everything matched quite nicely if I had to do any touch-ups. You don't have to do this stage, but I do find it does help, especially if you do make little wobbles with paint here and there. It just makes tidying up a lot easier. Then what I did was I started to kind of look at where I was with certain things. So I had to paint the inside of the leg panels, as you can see. I do need to work on the posing of the groin joints, the thigh sections, we'll just call them thigh sections. But this was kind of the first hurdle, is how to pose it. Now, posing. This can be quite difficult sometimes because if you get the pose wrong, your model could be leaning too far back or it couldn't quite give the effect that you want. And I think with kits like this, a pose can make or break the kit. It can be quite difficult to do. I really struggled with this, so what I actually did was I actually reached out to some fellow hobbyists on Instagram to see how they had posed their Contemptor dreads. And I'd really encourage doing stuff like this, because you can kind of see how they've gone. You can see you've got like a quite heroic pose here. We had a walking pose, and then we got this absolutely fantastic one here where he's actually walking on another Contemptor. So, you know, look at other people's work and find out where you want to go with it. I think is a really, really good way of just kind of getting inspiration and finding out where you want to go with your pose. However, to begin with, what I did was dry fit everything. This is something I would really recommend you do. The reason why I'm doing this is so I can work out straight away how I kind of want my guy to look. I kind of wanted that heroic pose, and I kind of knew I wanted to give this guy 2 power fists, but I wasn't sure on the spacing of the legs. I didn't want him looking like he was not doing anything, but I wanted him to kind of have a little bit of motion as opposed to just being quite rigid. So after making sure that I had everything kind of where I wanted it to be, and I was quite happy with the posing of things, what I could actually kind of do was, and I actually used superglue gel for this step, applied with a toothpick, just purely because it does give a little bit of working time because it's a thicker kind of gel. Now, how I went about this was I actually pushed the leg sections into the feet with a bit of glue on, and I made sure they were kind of flat against the base. And then what I actually did was, using the design of the actual miniature itself, on the, I guess, the knee joint, there's some little tiny dots that run around. So what I did was I just made a note of where I wanted them and where I was happy with them on my dry fit. And then what I did was I just kind of relined it back up with that way. So I actually used the knee section as its own little kind of dial indicator, as I knew I wanted these legs to be slightly bent, but I didn't want them to be kind of like full bent going upstairs or anything like that, because obviously the posing, once again, is, I think it can really make or break this kind of thing. Same again here, I looked at these little kind of knobbly bits there, and that's what helped me line it up. Once the leg sections were glued in place, then it was just a case of making sure the torso was actually kind of dead straight. I didn't want it leaning forward, because that would mean that the rest of the torso would lean forward, and obviously vice versa, leaning back. And these are one of the important things why I really kept testing everything, making sure everything fit and I was happy with it and I knew where I was going with it. And then what I could actually do is glue the little thigh joints together. I do these both at the same time, and then what I do is I firmly just push this onto the base, just so, because of the drying time of the superglue gel, it would move any little bits here or there. And what I could do is make sure that the feet were flat on the floor, and I had the space in. I'm actually using my thumbs to kind of just pull the legs ever so slightly apart there, because I don't want the feet to be I guess straight and parallel. I wanted them to be slightly pointing 10 to 2, if you will. Is a saying we have here in the UK. So once that was done, I could then look at gluing on the torso and things like that, which then I could glue on the actual upper part of the body. So it's all these kind of step-by-step processes that you have to learn to do when you kind of do sub-assemblies. So once I made sure that I guess the joining section to the groin and the torso, or the upper body, was dead straight, I could then kind of look at where I wanted to go with, certain other aspects. I kept looking downwards. I'm constantly dry fitting. I'm going to say that all through this video, because I do believe it was really important, and it was a big important stage to make sure everything was kind of correct. But before I could do anything, I had to kind of finish off the yellow sections for the legs. I also, before I glued on the front panel, had to complete the head in its entirety. So that's what I did. As you can see here, I've kind of base coated everything, and once again, I'm just dry fitting. I'm making sure everything is kind of where I want it, and it's looking good. I wanted the head looking slightly off center, as I just feel that this gave a bit more motion to its kind of subtle posing that I really wanted. So before I could glue anything on, obviously I did have to go and complete some of the leg sections. As you can see here, I just made sure to take my time. I like adding little blends, especially to yellow and panels and things like that. I think it's a great way of breaking up a flat surface. Even if you wanted to keep this ultra clean, I actually added some weathering to mine, as you probably saw in the thumbnail. But I just had a lot of fun with this kit, actually. It was a great kit. Here you can see what I'm doing is running my highlight colour in little lines and scratches and dots. And then all I do to do a little bit of weathering is I just come back in with a little bit of Rhinox hide, and I just carefully dot that into the middle of my highlight colour. This I do for scratches, dinks, chips, anything like that. If I was a little bit sloppy with a highlight, what I can actually do is touch this into the middle of it, where I've kind of, I guess, splodged a little bit. In actual fact, it looks like weathering. So you can kind of get away with covering up a lot of mistakes by just adding a little bit of subtle weathering. Now all my fades are completed and everything's been highlighted. I completed the upper body. This was completed in exactly the same way. I could then attach absolutely everything. This is going to give me my kind of final posing of where the arms are going to go, but really this was a big step into getting the majority of the work completed. Once again, it was super glue gel, as it gave me a little bit of time to adjust the torso and the upper body. I wanted him looking slightly offset, but before that I had to complete any bits that were going to be hidden. Once that was done, we were able to then start working on the shoulders. Once again, what I did here was I actually completed both the shoulders sections, and made sure they were ready to be glued on. And the way I went about posing the arms, I had decided what weapon options I had. Obviously, if you're going down the magnetizing route, you're probably not going to need to worry about this because you'll be able to put them about and repose them. But for me, I like to glue everything nice and tight. The way I did was I actually pushed all of the sections together. So I pushed the hand into the, I guess, the forearm, into the little elbow joint. And what I could actually do was glue the elbow joint into the socket, I guess, from the shoulder section. And then I could repeat it by letting that set, pulling the part out, then gluing my forearm in, pushing it in, letting it set, and then vice versa. So you work kind of backwards on yourself, starting from the shoulder. So you glue the elbow in, but you're actually using the model itself to kind of get that pose. That was the best way I could find of doing it. As you see here, I've got one arm completed. Once again, I just made sure that I was happy with everything by doing some chipping, some paints. Everything kind of got like a nice subtle fade. And do you know what? I just had a lot of fun with this kit, but it is a bit of a double-edged sword because obviously, once again, it has so many little components. It can be quite tricky for newcomers. So I do hope a lot of what I've said today really helps someone. Just knowing how to get that pose that you want. And really, this is kind of what I ended up with. I was really happy how he turned out. I kind of had the, you know, both the hands down, but kind of wide apart, as if he's ready to kind of, you know, go into battle. Everything was completed in steps and stages. If you have any questions about how I did things, if there's anything I missed, obviously I'm trying to cram a lot of 2 days worth of work into a 15-minute video. It's not always translatable, but that's effectively what I did for the miniature. Then I kind of got the base ready. For this, I just used my urban basing scheme. I do this with all my Imperial Fists. It's just a bit of cork stuck to a base. I highlight everything with grey, then I fill the gaps with grell and earth. I kind of wanted this guy half on the kind of cracked asphalt surface, half on the dirt, so everything got a really good coat of everything. I will link the video just in the top corner now, so you can see if you want to go back and see how actually I do these bases. They're really easy to do actually, and they're quite fun. I think they give a really, really good effect, especially when it comes to doing all the cracks and, you know, chipping out the cork and things like that. It was just a lot of fun to do. Once everything was kind of on, all I did do afterwards was I had some of the razor wire from Army Painter, which I just super glued in place. I put some road markings. I had some mordant dead grass tough things, which I super glued on. I have actually got some more to go on, but this is what we're left with. So as you can see, you know, just by taking your time, working in sub-assemblies, but working smart and knowing what order things go in, you can achieve a really, really good effect with your own Contemptor Dreadnought. If you do have any questions, obviously fire them down below. I'll do my best to answer them. Once again, I did have to cram 2 days worth of work into a 15-minute video, but I do hope this helps. I would like to say a massive thank you to the community artists over on Instagram that let me share their work. They were a great help chatting to them, and obviously everyone else that's painted Contemptor, which I did kind of browse through, but I can't mention here today. Absolutely astounding work. That's all from me. God bless, take care, and I will see you next time.